Thanks for being with me today.
Nice to meet you. No, no problem. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Like many others, I was excited to watch Half Man after having seen Baby Reindeer. My first thought was I would have expected you to be playing Niall instead of Ruben. Was that a consideration ever?
I think I'm not sure it was a consideration. I think that Niall was probably a bit more of a sweet spot, or less. I would say less of a risk than Ruben. But I guess life is all about risk, isn't it? And taking these kind of taking chances and risking failure and all that stuff. And Ruben was probably about the biggest like acting risk I could have taken in a lot of ways, following Donnie Dunn. But I think when I was writing Half Man. My initial things was I don't want to be in it. It's so much being in something and writing it and show running it, and I thought I'll take it off my plate. So by time we were going out to Jamie Bell and asking if he wanted to be Niall, I was still sort of under the impression that I was going to go near it. So but yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons I did play Ruben was because it was such a challenge and a risk, and it enticed me in a way, but it was terrifying.
That's how I would describe Ruben. I mean, I feel like I can already see this gentle sweetness that you have. And even with saying nothing in the show, I think Ruben is immediately terrifying. How do you achieve that without saying anything?
Oh, thank you. I mean, I always like felt like Ruben was never aware that he was a quote unquote hard man, if that's the right phrase. Do you have the phrase, that British phrase? But he sort of I thought he ran on a river of pain in a lot of ways. I mean, not I knew I had to physically transform to get people to buy Donnie Dunn as Ruben Pallister. I needed to go through a physical transformation and be intimidating in look, beard, hair, voice. But really, in terms, I thought he ran on a river of pain. So my biggest thing when it came to getting into character was actually trying to capture the kind of heartache, because I didn't want him to be just stereotypical aggressive all the time. I think I always wanted, when you look into his eyes, to see sadness no matter what he was doing.
And finding your younger actors was also, I'm sure, very difficult. I'm curious what kind of work you did together as pairs to make sure that your performances had something in common, or if you wanted to avoid that, let that be more natural.
Well, yeah, lots of conversations for sure, and a lot of talking. I mean, I held back four, five, and six from them because I didn't want them. There's a lot of ways the characters change because I wanted the characters to change after the gap halfway through the series. I really I didn't want them to all stay the same all the way through, and so the Ruben in adult life isn't the same as the Ruben in the young life. Niall certainly very different, and so I held back the scripts from the young lads, and I because I didn't want them to think, oh, well, this is going to happen to me in the future, therefore I should start seeding it now. I wanted there to be a youthful version of Niall and a youthful version of Ruben, and then an adult version of Niall and an adult version of Ruben. And so I held it back, and I wanted to focus on that. I wouldn't say innocent because it's not like young Ruben's innocent, but I wanted to focus on that kind of like vivaciousness of youth aspect. Like this character, he's got all of these problems and these issues, and he's capable of this level of violence, but let's drill down into what makes him so enticing for Niall. That's the most important thing. What draws Niall to him to this extent? So let's capture that. Um, let's not focus on the brokenness too much right now.
It does feel, because the story doesn't play out exactly in chronological order, that these episodes could have been shifted and had a similar sort of effect. Were you set on the order that audiences would see stuff, or did you toy with that a little bit?
Well, actually, it was actually at script stage. The bookends, we called the bookends the weddings, the stuff. They stayed more or less the same as script stage. I just thought it was a kind of interesting way of telling the story. I thought there was a certain degree of, I guess, artistry or storytelling to filling in the gaps between the episodes, leaping forward in time and having a structure that didn't spell out for you, that the audience had to kind of piece together. I think life is memory, like this collated memory and sort of a mosaic of things we remember. And I wanted it to feel like that, these kind of like pockets and epochs of time in these two brothers' lives. And I thought like I just wanted to create an almost like a mosaic, like a picture mosaic of these two brothers' lives.
I know that I like, even when I have screeners ahead of time, to try to separate and watch an episode a day at most to really give myself the time. But I'm sure there are some people who will wait to binge this entire series. Would you recommend that, or do you think it's best taken a little dose at a time?
I guess it's whatever is right for the person. Um, it was very, I wanted it to, I really love the kind of long form storytelling that you get with the hour long format. The kind of, I think the phrase is slow burn, although I'm not necessarily think that Half Man is like slow burn in a way, because I know there's a lot of action and all this kind of stuff. But I like that. But in a day and age of mass consumption and social media and scrolling, it feels kind of like new, and it new again in a weird way. And I knew like slowing down the story and doing, I guess, slow burn drama was quite rare in a way. And yeah, and I guess in terms of like bingeability, it certainly is written with the long form aspect to it. But I mean, people, when they get screeners, people are like, oh my God, I binged it, I loved it. And I know it's a dark 6 hours, but I guess each to their own. It's a good question. It's hard to answer actually. I'm not sure I'm doing a very good job of answering it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess each to their own, I suppose.
Well, you talked about bookends, and I think that this is a very well-contained series, but people always want more of a good thing. Do you feel like there's any more story here, or because of the way it's been told, this is the full arc from beginning to end, back to beginning?
Yeah, I think it probably is the end. Um, I always say never because like I'll always be led by inspiration. Like I think sometimes like if something creative comes to me and oh my God, I have to return to this, then I'll do it. But you know, I never, for example, like Baby Reindeer was such a success, but I was always like, no, 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 to explain it further because I believe in like leaving something where it is if you feel like that's the intention. Like I intended Baby Reindeer as a limited series and Half Man as a limited series, and that artistic original intention I think is important. And the only way I will override that sort of initial intention is if I convince that I've come up with an idea that's better than that. And so I think it's probably left where it is, but I'll always say never, just in case.
You have a next idea already, and are you considering something maybe a bit lighter?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a studio sitcom. No, I don't know. I think I have so many ideas all the time. I sometimes almost think there's not enough ideas. Like I have too many ideas for the time I have left. I know that feels like a bit dooming, but and I want to do all kinds of different things. And I think who knows what I'll do next and what I'm feeling. I've got ideas, and I think I'm very close to deciding on it. But I guess it's all indicative of the mood I'm in and what I want to explore. Like I really, having come out my 20s where I struggled quite a lot, I'm interested in exploring the human struggle, the inconsistencies of life. It really intrigues me. And I guess after Baby Reindeer, I wasn't done with that. I wanted to dig deeper inside certain things and aspects of the human condition. But yeah, in the future, I'm sure there'll be wildly different things that I'll do.
Plenty of people are watching and talking about the things you're making. What are you watching? What do you like these days?
Well, it's funny you say that because I never watch shows while I'm doing TV shows, because I think it's important that I stay in my world, my lane, my characters, my understanding of what television is. I remember watching Succession during Baby Reindeer, and it was like a very strong learning curve because it's such an amazing show. I would sort of hang up. I would have the credits would roll, and I'd be like, "Oh no, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, that is so good." And it kind of the next day I would be a bit insecure, I guess. And I realized actually that the staying in, and I after Succession and loving that show, God, I loved it so much. I I I felt actually that's a lesson though. Like, that's and I took that into Half Man, and I all the major shows the past 2 years I haven't watched. I go to shows I know and I'm familiar with. Um, or I watch kind of stuff that's a little more escapist, like wrestling or something like that, football. I go back and watch the early Simpsons seasons and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I guess I should end by saying, what's next on the list for you to watch? What haven't you seen that you're like, when I'm done with this show, that's what I have to sit down and do.
What am I going to watch first? It's a good question. A show that always really intrigued me a lot, and I think it was because we were at the awards run at the same time as it, and that was Shogun. I think that's really something that I can't wait to get round to. And that was doing all the sweeping while I was, well, Baby Reindeer was, and I kept thinking, God, this show sounds amazing. I got to watch it. And now that I finished Half Man, I have the permission to. So I think that's top of my list. But all kinds of stuff, the studio feels real intriguing, and I mean, so much stuff, so much stuff.
Awesome. Well, you have plenty of good stuff ahead of you. Thank you so much, Richard.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Thank you much.